Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Leadership Lounge. We are powered by TDL and we are bringing together like-minded people future focused on their leadership journey. So if you haven't already and you're watching us on the YouTube channel, make sure you subscribe. And if you're listening to us as you go by your day on your podcast provider, make sure you hit follow. And our aim is to add value to your leadership journey by speaking to amazing people with amazing stories and experts in their field. So today we are speaking to Justine. How are you?
No pressure at all.
No pressure. Do you know some people say that?
Yeah, that introduction, you're like, oh.
So Justine, we recently met through networking, through connections. James has actually been on the podcast as well.
Yes.
We'll try not to talk about James though. We'll tag his podcast in, but it's all about you today. So I'm super excited about sharing your journey, your perspectives, some of the leadership challenges and successes you've had. So I don't need to introduce you anymore. Let's start. So as I hit the 20-minute timer, could you introduce yourself to the people who don't know who you are? Off you go.
Yeah, I always get worried about introductions like that, so it doesn't sound like I'm at some sort of meeting like, hi, my name's Justine. I guess really short start to finish is I started in my career in graphic design, entered into the world of hospitality as a waitress and worked my way up to a general manager of 3 restaurants, I think, by the time I was 24. And then when I was 26, I took the jump out of hospitality, because anyone in the industry knows you will never get out of hospitality if you don't force yourself out of it. So I went into a graphic design role for my old business partner's company, and within 6 months we'd launched our first digital marketing agency. So it was all a bit of an accident. We just kept getting asked to do bits and bobs that I kind of had experience in because I'd taken them from other industries that I'd been in, and it just kind of grew. So we had it as Whitfield Business Support for I want to say about 6 years. Realised that we weren't techie enough for the industries that we're in today, so we called ourselves Revolution 4, rebranded. So I had that digital marketing agency up until early this year, where me and my business partner split ways, and I've now got Phantom Digital, which is a hybrid digital workforce. So basically you guys focus on doing what you do best, and we do everything from marketing, digital design, tech. We're just the kind of, I hate saying it, a one-stop shop for everything business, but you have one person to work on your behalf as an account manager, and then we do what we do best and leave you to do what you do best.
Yeah, it's good. And I know, because we've caught up between meeting and recording this about some of the twists and turns and the changes in your career and how it links to leadership. That's why I was really keen to sort of have you on, and obviously now in the modern world that we live, how it shows up in how you work now. But going back to sort of like the start, where were the first sort of touches of your leadership journey? Like, when did that show up? Because you come across very driven and you're very motivated, and I love that. But where's that come from?
To be honest, I think I started working as a waitress in a restaurant, and I just hated. I'm impatient. I like things getting done. I hate people standing around not doing anything. So I was always the one kind of running around, making sure things were done. And I think that's how I kind of moved my way up in the management role pretty quickly. So instead of just being the person kind of getting frustrated with it, I was trying to empower people to kind of join me and do it. So it wasn't me just butting heads against people all the time. And I think that's how I just kind of fell into the role without even kind of realizing that was kind of being the leader, but trying to get people on board with me and kind of let's all collaborate and work together. It makes it 10 times easier for us all, and that's kind of how it grew.
Fantastic. And again, as you were talking then, I was thinking about our listeners and a lot of the people we speak to. Like, one of the challenges, and one of my observations actually after 12 months of being out of the military, was those people that are getting promoted because they're really good at their jobs, but they don't necessarily have the skill set or the awareness or the knowledge base or the toolbox of becoming a manager, leader, and getting away. How did you get away from, or what are some of your stories about we all know that when you initially have a challenge, it's like, oh, it's easier and quicker just to do it myself.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
how did you get away from that, and how
I
long
still
did that
don't think,
take?
I still don't think I have, if I'm honest. I think it's a never-ending struggle, and I think I've gone through a couple of waves, and I think it's a perfect example of life, really, because when I was in the restaurant industry, I found that kind of leadership quite easy. But when I went into the industry that I'm in now, I found it quite difficult because I thought I knew everything at the point of moving from one job to another. And the industry that I'm in now, you've got a multitude of different individuals, such as techies who in a lot of circumstances they're quite hard to communicate, they're quite introvert, and I'm quite extrovert, so trying to have that dialogue with someone that is introvert was something I wasn't aware of or wasn't understanding of. So I think I went from being or thought I was a good leader in one career, and then went and found it really, really difficult, and then just didn't understand. And then I ended up almost like stamping my feet down, going, no, this is how I want it done, and almost changing what my perception was on leadership, because I was getting frustrated with the fact I wasn't getting the right outcome. But I think it's only as of recently that I've kind of understood what my morals are in business, my goals, and kind of how I would like to be treated. And I've kind of thought about it quite completely differently, that I've now gone, oh, actually, morally, that's not how I kind of want to be. And I've kind of pivoted the way in which I lead and deliver and work with people. So, but that's only changed because I've had to self-reflect on the outcome not being the same as what I probably did when I was 24 and managing a restaurant with people that are kids and actually quite enthusiastic and lively and bubbly or whatever. So I think it's a never-ending kind of lesson that you have to kind of always be aware of. It's self-awareness and understanding of other people, depending on kind of how it is that you work with them.
I like that, because again, we talk a lot about awareness, and it just comes with experience, doesn't it? It
Yeah.
comes with you putting yourself out there and having those experiences, those light bulb moments of maybe I need to do something. And you're so right. There's a lot of leaders out there and people, new managers that have that, it's actually about me, as
Mm-hmm.
I'm the one that needs to show up and solve this, and with that collaboration as well. So with your sort of journey as well, a lot of people we've spoken to on the podcast recently, they've come into this, we talk about this tech world of like this shunt from COVID, embracing digital tools, collaboration. Like what do you do in a digital footprint to make sure your team and yourself show up and communicate really well, produce great products, great end results for your business but also others?
Yeah, so I agree with the whole it's everything's changed since COVID and the pandemic. Like, we all used to have an office, so it was easy to kind of bounce off each other and collaborate with each other, or if someone was struggling, someone could speak to the other person much easier. So obviously there's been a bit of a shift in regards to having to do a lot of stuff online, but we purposely make sure that we have regular team meetings. We have creative hours where we completely shut off from replying to any emails, and we actually just go, right, let's just all bounce ideas off each other. If the graphic designer is struggling with an idea, then even if we're not necessarily a design-based role, we'll all jump in with ideas and trying to come up with something. I think it's that collaboration we've really tried to kind of push, because then it feels like you're much more of a team, even though you're quite disjointed. But we also make sure that we do like regular face-to-face meetings as well, because I think as much as people say they love working from home, a lot of people still want to see people. So we've tried to, engage people that way as well.
And so again, it is, isn't it? I think, I don't know whether you found this, but when we initially were, I use that nudge into digital, I think there was a big nudge, and it was there but not embraced. What were your sort of, everybody seemed to be doing the same thing because the person next to them were doing it, regards to businesses going virtual or 3 days a week, or all these little things of changing the working platform, way of life, however you want to form it. What's your perspective on how people are doing it right? Because you mentioned then about it's still important to have those little touch points of face to face. Like what have you seen people doing that has come across really well and worked well in result space?
Transparency, but with like transparency between the team. I think one thing I was a horror at it, so I'd come up with an idea or I'd come up with a campaign that we do for a client. I'd be like, right guys, this is what we're doing, this is how it's done, and you'd see people sat there and there's just no one's engaging or on board with it, and I just used to want to run with it because it was my idea and whatever. Whereas now I think we're quite transparent, so we'll all put our ideas in the hat, we'll all say what we like, what we don't like, and I think that as long as everyone's transparent amongst the team, again, I think that drives a bit more enthusiasm to kind of push things forward or motivate projects and stuff like that. So yeah, transparency is key, I think.
Fantastic. So I'm just picturing somebody listening to this podcast, and I know there's a lot of listeners who are in early stage growth or at startup phase, where we sort of deem it going from single figure team to double figure team. Yeah. There's a point in lots of different sectors where there's a bit of a tipping point of we've now got a business, a team of people. It kind of can creep up on you sometimes. And I know the thing I love about your story and how you're building what you're building now through experience is a lot to do with purpose, everybody on the same page, building that, if we were put a buzzword on it, a culture in your organization. What are some of the things that people need to start thinking about early on? And then put a bit of context on here. I've dealt with people that are in 50 plus teams, and 2, 3, 4, 7 years down the line, they've gone, oh, we wish we'd done a little bit at the start to build a culture. We've kind of accidentally fell into this, and in a tech world as well, things can go quite quickly. You can suddenly arrive with 50 plus staff and you've not done it. So what are some of the things you're doing now consciously to make sure that the culture is, so you mentioned about transparency, but how do you do that?
Regular one-to-ones is a key thing for me. So although I do a lot of team meetings, I'll always do check-ins. I usually do a check-in bi-weekly one-to-ones, but not necessarily about business. I just ask how they are, what's going on in their general life. Is there anything they're excited about? Is there anything they're concerned about? Because it could be that I might just be able to give them an extra day off on a specific day that they mightn't have been able to have off. That's just going to change the stress levels, or understanding your employee, but not about necessarily just about business, about what motivates them, what demotivates them is probably the most important thing. And it changes constantly. I remember doing a thing with my team months and months and months ago, and it was putting your different things in levels of priority. And I thought that everyone just wanted a pay rise. So I thought money was going to be at the top. And 80% of them put security, having a nice environment to work in. And I was like, what? I was mind blown. I thought everyone was driven by money and progress and learning and development. And it wasn't. It was the complete opposite way around. So I was putting all my efforts into pushing people to try and go onto courses and kind of empower them to learn and work together. And actually, they just wanted me to decorate the room in the office and tell them that they were secure in their job and they're going nowhere. So it's, I think, understanding what motivates your team and what worries your team, but regularly checking in on that is really, really important. And it's well worth it, because the smallest tweak can make such a big difference.
Yeah, do you know, I love that. And I'm laughing and thinking about all the different things that have come up. We had Rob Stewart on the podcast several episodes ago, and he says he said such a great story about one Friday they didn't provide bacon butties for the team, and there was like catastrophic. There was like what, and he was like trying to get more money for the staff, and it's exactly the same, isn't it? Like, listen and have that environment where you can be transparent, talk. And you're so right. The studies that show that the power of take money off the table and pay people what they're meant to be paid in line with company standards, etc., or sector standards, and you realize that it's actually the environment and security. 100%. It's great. Go on, Tom.
One of our biggest arguments, or not arguments, that the team had as an argument amongst themselves in the office, was about what was being played on the radio. And someone was playing ABBA and the other person didn't like ABBA, and the rest of the team really didn't mind what they were playing. And it caused uproar, because next thing it was, well, you don't let me play anything, and and it was chaotic. So actually, one of the things that I had to do was drop everything and work out what everyone wanted to listen to on the radio. It was just, it's mental, but
Yeah.
you have to be aware of it as well. So
Some of the things that if people are listening to this thinking of getting into business or their early stages, you've got a lot of things that you don't realize that you've got to deal with coming up. That's all I'm saying.
yeah.
I want to use your experience. I've just thought as you were talking, there's an opportunity here to talk about personal brand. And I know that it's something that you will know about. It's a journey that I've been through about the importance of personal brand. But I think leaders, people that are in positions of influence, the likes of social media, LinkedIn, there's such an opportunity for people to show up and turn up external of their business and external of their team as a personal brand, which will have such a big impact on the people that they don't realize are looking. So does that make sense? Have you got any advice or guidance on personal brand of somebody in a business, not necessarily owning their own business, because it comes a bit more relevant, doesn't it, if it's your business, the impact you can have on people and influence around your personal brand?
Yeah, so people buy from people. So no matter what you do on your business page, yeah, okay, you're going to showcase your team and you're going to, a lot of people don't, which is probably why the business doesn't have their own face to the brand. So it's kind of a bit of a mix between the two. But people buy from people. So people that are authentic, if you're showing your true self all the time. We've talked about it on many of occasions about if you're talking about something that you're interested in, it shows as an authentic conversation, and other people will probably be interested in that too. Actually just promoting not even your life, but your interests, your culture, your ethos, your drive and your passion around your subject. It in turn, people will buy into that, and then they'll buy into your business. I'm a perfect example of it. I mean, I've obviously recently just launched my new business, but I put all my efforts into my personal brand, and all my business development comes from my personal brand into my business. So it's all about growing your network, and collaborations the way forward in regards to business moving forward. But you're not going to collaborate business to business. There's got to be the person that mediates between the business to business. So what better opportunity than to utilize your brand and your own message, get your own voice across, and people will buy into you.
Yeah, I know. I'm just thinking about my journey to date, but I just thought, have you got any, if somebody's listening to going, oh, that's a good idea, I maybe need to do a bit of showing up, turning up, what do you think the first things they can do are? And just my first thing I did was started to do a little bit on LinkedIn. But what do you suggest people start to do? Actionable things.
It depends on what your business and industry is, I suppose, really, but being consistent in anything. So if you choose that your LinkedIn's your platform where you're going to be getting business, then just make sure you're consistently posting on it, but also engaging with people on it. I think people forget that social media is about being social, and everyone becomes this, I'm going to sell myself and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. But actually, if you change all your messaging from I've done this and I've done that to like we, and kind of asking people for answers and questioning and asking for people's input, it's about being social. So engage with people, don't just promote yourself, engage. I think that's the biggest thing, is changing your tone and actually doing it and staying consistent on it.
Yeah, and being, you mentioned authentic, like be intrigued, be interested. I love that aspect of it. So technical tools, we're all behind screens. You, with the business that you're in, that's a high percentage of your day. How do you stay accountable to spending a little bit of you time, fresh air, no screen time? What's your hack regards to being that kind of, right, I need a little bit of time out?
Book it in my calendar.
Right, okay.
If it's not in my diary, I don't do it. So I've now got into the habit of, even if we're just talking about an event or something that we want to go to, I put it in my diary before I even book it, because then it'll keep that space available for me to actually take that time out. I'm a horror. If you'd left me behind a computer, I'd probably stay there all day. But I'm all about mindset and focus. And I think the more you get outside and the more you do things for exercise and whatever, it actually helps you 10 times more when it comes to creativity. So it is really important, but 100% I've got to put it in my diary as a booked in slot, even if it's go for a walk or whatever, it has to be in my diary.
Do you know what? I resonate with that, because I remember when I used to still have a pen and paper diary, you know, and we used to have those. That sounds like an old-fashioned thing to say now, doesn't it?
Love it.
But when I was literally, it took me ages to get over onto my phone diary, but now if it's not in my diary, it doesn't get done. A last question, because we've got about a minute left. Give us a little bit of a future focus for your business and you in the next however many years you want to go to.
So my business is obviously brand new, really, as my own kind of venture. But I'm looking at collaborating with another company who do something outside of what we do. One, to expand our services, but two, for me to kind of learn and understand areas that I've never kind of worked in before. So I don't know if I'm going to kind of pivot towards that way and maintain my business running on the side, or kind of do a bit of a collaboration joint venture. So I'm all about collaborating, love networking, transparency, working between businesses. So that's kind of the way forward for me. And I'll be more networking events like you do. So
I know we'll be spending probably a lot more time together, and that's some great events. And that's a good thing about you being so close as well. And we know quite a lot of people that good people in the room just make great environments that people want to show up to. So that's the main thing. So Justine, that's 20 minutes. I can't believe how quickly that's gone. I love it though. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having me.
Ladies and gents, if you've been watching us on the YouTube channel, make sure you hit subscribe. We have recently, on recording this, just gone over 300 subscribers. So thank you so much for those people. And I think it just starts building momentum, because before I know it, we'll be counting down to 400. So thank you so much for that. If you're listening to us as you go about your day, make sure you hit follow. And as ever, we always ask, please share on our social media platforms what your takeaway was from this episode. How can you relate? And please pass it forward to somebody that it might help. So Justine, thank you for your time. I look forward to seeing you very soon.
Thanks for having me.
And ladies and gents, we'll see you all next week. Take care. Bye.